Good evening. I'm out of town today, so unfortunately was unable to attend this evening's board meeting, so I do apologize for that. I did want to take a few minutes in this video, though, to try to present an overview of what a typical day will look like for students as they start the year in a very atypical year. We are trying to make this middle school experience for the students as normal as possible, so you'll see a lot of things in this plan that are going to feel normal for students. We want them to enjoy being back at school. That being said, we do have a number of safety features in place to ensure the safety of students and staff. And I'm going to try to address the main questions that I think you may have after reading the plan. If there are any other questions you have after this video presentation, Mr. Borden's been a part of this task force as well, and he's available to answer any questions you have this evening. And if we can't address them tonight, I would be happy to come and report on any questions you had, try to answer them the best I can at next Tuesday's board meeting. So the first question everybody's going to have is, where do students go when they arrive at school? We're fortunate to be able to have lots of land around the middle school. And in this diagram here, you can see we're setting up 4 separate zones where students in different grade levels can arrive at school. We will quickly be having all available staff come outside and getting them in their first period cohorts. Cohorts will be set up for first period. Those same groups will get together during advisory, and they will come back together for a guided studies flex period, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And we will keep those cohorts together in other core classes where possible, but we don't know yet if that's to what extent that's going to be possible. So the health screening will start outside, weather permitting. In the fall and spring, we're hopeful that we can do all of it outside before students even come in the building. And that will involve some temperature screenings, give us a baseline of student results. Anybody that is having some symptoms or complaining of symptoms or showing an elevated temperature would be escorted over to the high school to a larger screening area where the nurse would be, and Cami and the high school task force have nicely said that they would allow middle schoolers to come over as well if needed. We don't have a lot of space in the middle school to physically distance kids who are experiencing symptoms, so this would be very, very helpful. So morning health screening, students who have any symptoms would be escorted over to the high school for further evaluation. Afternoon health screenings, any students would be sent who were able to be at the morning but are starting to show some symptoms would be sent to the office for follow-up. This is just a picture of the only space we have in the middle school for students who are experiencing symptoms. On the left is our health room. Picture of that's right off of our main office area. That can be an isolation room where we shut the door, could be disinfected after a student's in there. Because that is going to strictly be reserved for COVID symptoms this year, we just don't want to have a kid who skinned their knee going in there too. We've set up a space in the back of the teacher workroom, and what you see is a small cubicle area. That glass is frosted so you can't see inside there, and that's expandable. If we need to make it bigger, we'll make it bigger. But for this year at least, students who need some first aid treatment or they need some ice because they sprained their ankle can sit back there and have the nurse take a look at them back there rather than going into this private health room. Masks will go on anytime students are in the building in the middle school. We are going to train students and staff on proper mask usage, have some protocols that we have high expectations for they're being followed at all times. We don't want to open any gray areas on this. We do, however, also though want to have many opportunities during the day where students can remove masks and staff can remove masks. So those opportunities will happen outdoors. At the start of the year, we don't want to have any spaces indoors where the masks are coming off. But we are asking teachers to give students frequent mask breaks. Anytime students are going from one building to the next, they'll be permitted to take their mask off. When students have their guided studies flex period, they'll have time to potentially go for a walk for a little bit, get their masks off. So we definitely want students to feel like there are enough opportunities through the day to remove masks, that they're not just stuck from 8:30 to 3:30 with a mask over their face. Here's a quick picture of our hallways. This is our widest hallway, which is 11 to 12 feet. And then here's a picture of a common hallway, and this is our 8th grade wing with 9 to 10 feet in space. Because of that, we made the decision on our task force that we want to start the year without students in lockers. Simply because if students on both sides of the hallway are opening lockers, standing within a foot of each other, congregation is much more likely. It's going to be very hard for other students to pass by when students are standing at their lockers, even if we're trying to keep them moving. So we are going to start the year and just ask students to bring essential supplies in their backpacks along with their Chromebooks. Any other supplies that they are asked to bring for the school year can be stored in classrooms with their names on it at first. We likely will open up lockers at some point this year, but we wanted students to get the routines in the hallway down, and we felt that's going to be a lot easier to keep people moving, staying on the right side of the hallway as they walk if lockers were not in use at first. As far as the proposed schedule goes, we don't have too many changes to the schedules, but a couple things I want to highlight were necessary. Students in all grade levels will have 4 core class sections. This is possible with more students opting for remote learning in 7th and 8th grade. We no longer need 5 sections of students this year. That could be temporary, but for this year we can have 4 core sections. Because of that, we are going to eliminate the STEAM program and our computer classes for this year. We're going to integrate computer instruction clearly into everything we're doing in core classes, so that class isn't as essential this year. And the STEAM program, as much as we were thankful to have that added, we have a greater need right now for full-time remote learning teachers. So by eliminating the computer class and the STEAM class, we are going to be able to free up 2 positions for remote learning full-time in our school. More may be needed, but at least we have 2 for now that we can free up. With that being said, I wanted you also to know that all of the other exploratory classes will continue to be provided. So music, all the musics, all the art, PE, health, fitness, we will continue to provide those with definite changes in protocol for safety. We're also proposing to add a guided studies flex period in the place of some of these core rotation classes such as STEAM, computers. There were some enhancement classes in past years that we are not going to offer, but we'll have this flex period, and I'll show you what that's going to look like in just a second. This is a typical day of a typical student in the middle school right here. The 6th grade schedule will look very similar to the 7th and the 8th. The only difference with the 5th grade schedule, and I'll show you right now, is the 5th grade will have a morning block of cores and an afternoon block of cores, and they only have 2 teachers, 2-person teams, whereas the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders have 4 core teachers. You will notice there are some highlighted red areas, the 8:25 to 8:35, the 2:30 to 2:40. That is the 6th grade's health screening time built into the first period core and then the guided studies period. Every grade level will have an exploratory class on an A day and a B day, and that will change at the semester. And so we are going to try our best to give students opportunities of what they like. They do have fewer exploratory options this year. Sometimes in past years they were able to have 3, sometimes 4 exploratories. This year it will be 2 per semester and not 3 or 4. We are, in the guided studies time, going to have kids go back to their cohort groups, the same group that they have first period, the same group they have for advisory. And that will be an opportunity to catch up on work, possibly to do some of the health screening by the same teacher that did the health screening in the morning, possibly go for a walk, do some homework, watch a video, kind of a flipped video for a class the next day. It'll essentially be a guided studies homework time, and the flex part is going to allow the special ed case managers, our Title I support, and our gifted, talented teacher, Darcy, to pull kids out when appropriate to do extension activities or remedial work. So that's the time when we will free up some students to go places that they need extra support or enrichment activities. That will no longer be built in within the exploratory, so it makes our schedule a little simpler by doing this for this year, and that's only possible because we were able to cut out the 5 core rotation in 7th and 8th grade. I'm just going to overlay briefly the 5th and the 6th grade. The 5th grade times are on the right, 6th grade times are on the left, just to show you also, if you look at first period, that we're staggering the release and the transition time. So 6th period will get out of first period at 9:25, and then 6th grade, I'm sorry, will get out at 9:25. 5th grade will get out at 9:30. And so Mr. Borden and I can get to 1 grade level at a time. We aren't going to have 4 grade levels moving through the hallways. Mr. Borden can take the 5th grade, I can take the 7th grade 1 period, and with that staggered release, we'll have a lot better opportunity to monitor hallways, monitor bathrooms, make sure kids are following safe physical distancing practices, continuing to move during those transitions. Again, here are the exploratory classes that all will continue to be offered, again, other than the computer and STEAM time. This is a typical layout of a classroom. I just wanted to show you what this might look like if there were 18 students in that classroom and single desks. We can spread them out that far. That's about a 5-foot spread there. This does not give teachers an 8x8 space in front of the room, so if a teacher opts for that, to be able to teach without a mask on and have some significant physical distancing, we would have to put those desks closer together. This is a typical room with an 8x8 space on the center right of this room with tables. There would be 2 students to a table. This again would fit 18 to 20 students with this layout. So this is generally how these classes will look. We're going to ask teachers to spread out the tables as far as possible and get creative with the layout so students are as physically distanced as possible, but I did want you to be able to see that it will be impossible to get 6 feet of distancing in classes, which is why it's going to be essential for all students to wear masks full time when they're in the classroom. We are going, as I had mentioned, to give the frequent mask breaks, but also start the year with all PE and health fitness outdoors. There's a picture of those blue cruiser bikes that Tonya mentioned last week. I'm going to encourage our 5th and 6th grade teachers to get kids out for bike rides whenever possible and class walks for breaks. Masks can come off, but kids are going to need some physical activity when the weather is nice, so we're going to take advantage of that whenever possible in the fall. Our cafeteria, during lunchtime, we send each grade level to lunch at a different time. It is rushed. There's very little time of transitions between, so this is going to be a challenge for us. We will not have more than 50 students in the cafeteria. Students will wait in line with masks on. Some students will be assigned to go to other locations. Up to 50 will stay there as physically distanced as possible and be allowed to take their masks off as soon as they sit down to eat. We will likely have some assigned seats, or at least allow students to participate in who they want to sit near, so they can still be near their friends, but we will have assigned seats so students aren't clustered very closely together. These are the other 3 locations that we are going to utilize heavily. Classrooms will be a last option for us, but the library can hold 12 to 15 students with 2 per table. And so we're looking at about 12 to 15 there, about 20 to 24 in the commons with, again, 2 to 3 per table. There's a sample of the table, and students would be spread out either 2 to a table with 10 tables set up, possibly 1 or 2, tables would have 3 kids at that. And then we are, again, hopeful for a very warm and sunny fall. And we can get a lot of kids outside in the gazebo area, picnic areas. We'll spread those tables out a bit, and we're hoping we can use that as often as possible instead of having kids indoors. Last thing I just did want to cover was that we would like to continue to offer the after-school program, including the homework club and interest-based classes. We will have specific protocols for the after-school program if we do have any guest speakers. However, all protocols as far as mask wearing, physical distancing, frequent washing of hands will be the same as if students were just going to another period during the school day. So our school day expectations we're proposing will remain the same for the after-school program safety guidelines. And that is what I have for now. I hope that addressed some of your questions, and like I said, Mr. Borden is available to answer any specific ones you have now, or I'd be happy to answer them more next Tuesday when I'm at the board meeting in person. So thank you, and I'll see you next week.